Good afternoon and welcome to 12 and a half minutes, your weekly hit of hope, information and inspiration, brought to you by Elevator, one of Scotland's leading entrepreneurial and business supports companies. My name is Andy Campbell and I am delighted to come to you this afternoon for our third edition of 12 and a half minutes. And each week I get to spend some time with some of the UK and in fact some of the world's leading entrepreneurs, pioneers and trailblazers. We're really thankful that you're able to join us. Hopefully you've been able to grab your cup of tea and you're sitting back and ready to enjoy the next wee while on our social media channels. We are streaming on Facebook and also YouTube. And I would really encourage you to get involved. If you're on Facebook, you can just simply write a comment, and likewise on YouTube. If you want to post up any questions for our guest today, we'd be delighted to see those from you, and we'll get to them as we go through our interview. So it's really hard to believe that it's the 1st of May already. And this is now week 5 of lockdown that was put into place, as we all know, in the UK on the 23rd of March. And it's rather strange and rather surreal times. And the team at Elevator have been working hard to think about what we can do as an organisation to provide something that's out there that's perhaps food for thought, some information, some inspiration that will help you through this rather challenging time. As I said earlier, it's week 3, and we have already had 2 tremendous speakers in previous weeks. First week, we had Bill Ollett from MIT, and Bill really talked to us about entrepreneurship and how there is a fantastic opportunity for entrepreneurs at the end of this. And he said there is no better time to be an entrepreneur. And last week, we were delighted to be joined by Professor Gary McEwen, Chief Exec of Elevator. And Gary really dug into the mindset of an entrepreneur. What type of mindset do you need to have in order to get through this tough time, but also identify the silver lining and really exploit those opportunities that this time will give you? And today we're going to talk about something that's quite close to my heart: technology and innovation. And we will be joined in a moment by Myrtle Dawes, who is the Solution Centre Director at the OGTC. Myrtle is a chartered chemical engineer and has over 25 years of experience working within the oil and gas sector. So I'm absolutely delighted to extend a very warm welcome to Myrtle Dawes. Myrtle, good afternoon to you. How are you?
I'm feeling fantastic, thank you.
Great, Myrtle. Well, it's brilliant that you're able to join us today. And whereabouts in the world are you joining us from, Myrtle?
So I'm joining you from a very sunny day in Aberdeen. I moved actually only last month, me and my 2 cats, so I'm glad that we're in lockdown together.
Well, that's good. And we understand at some point the cats may be making an appearance.
Yeah, they do what they want, really.
Well, everyone's welcome to 12 and a half minutes, Myrtle. So thank you for being able to join us today. We're going to have some great time for questions and answers, hopefully in a little minute. But what I'd like to do is first have you kick off with an overview on, well, a little bit of background on you and the work that you've done over the years, but specifically the work that you are doing now at OGTC, and in particular your approach to technology and innovation. So over to you, Myrtle.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and pleasure to be here today, especially in these extraordinary times that we're going through. And I know that there are a lot of innovators and entrepreneurs on the line who are trying to get their nascent ideas going. But, you know, I don't think there's ever been a better time to actually, and more of a need to actually deliver this new way of working and how we live. I think that's going to be quite key. So anyway, I'm Myrtle Dawes. In terms of who I am, I do identify as a cat lover. I love wine. I'm a gamer, and I think the other 2 things I like to do are build a lot of Lego. No Lego here. And actually, I watch a lot of trashy TV. So all the standard things of someone living in 2020. I've worked as an engineer for quite a long time in my career, and then I've done project management. I worked with customers for a few years, and now I'm here at the OGTC. Very happy to have landed here. You know, at the OGTC, which was formed 3 years ago, you know, our aim is really to connect academia, industry, and government together so that we can help developers meet the strategic needs of the sector via things that we call roadmaps. And we work with and connect with a lot of organisations to do that. And whether that be technology, which reduces costs, improves efficiency, and or meets the more existential issue we've got now, which is around climate change. So that's what kind of transition technology can we work on? That's what we do. And one of the other things I love doing at the OGTC is that we have lots of disciplines and skills there. So when we're working on a problem, it won't be just say a problem on asset integrity. We can mash together asset integrity and digital, and rather than just try to solve one problem, we'll say, why don't we get a robot, an autonomous robot that can do that? So fantastic time to be at the OGTC.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much indeed for the overview, Myrtle, and the really important role that the OGTC and yourself play within the development of innovation and technology. I'd like to start now into the time about yourself, I guess, maybe going back a bit, because you're someone that doesn't like comfort zones. Would that be fair to say? You've always pushed yourself out of the limits, out of your own personal limits, and out of your own personal comfort zones. What's your approach to that, Myrtle?
Yeah, so I think what I found is that it's really important, if you are going to do more, that you have to kind of experience more. So initially, I took a lot of comfort around knowing that every day that I went into work, I could solve a problem. And for the majority of the time that I was an engineer, I was very satisfied being there. When I started to expand beyond that, it was very uncomfortable, but the satisfaction that you get from actually applying your knowledge, and also knowing that you don't actually have to know everything, and actually, rather than learning about what you need to do, learning how to bring teams together to actually deliver. So for me, the key things for me is that you've got to try to be good in first-time situations, absolutely, and you have to enjoy change. And I'm glad I learned to enjoy change, because I don't think anything has remained the same over the last 20 years.
Yeah, not at all. And innovation is one of the biggest drivers that we've seen over the last 20 years. The speed of new technology adoption, whether it's from the internet, mobile communications, and specialist technologies within the oil and gas sector. Innovation is the driver behind all of that. But for companies to have a culture of innovation, that can sometimes be quite difficult. What's your thoughts and views on how companies can be more culturally innovative?
So I think there are a few things. I think one of the things we do need to do is to learn to unlearn the things that we've learned previously. I know we're all rewarded and recognised for all our deep learning, especially if you're in the sciences or engineering, but we do need to unlearn that. I think the second thing is companies need to be a bit more forgiving around failure, but so do individuals. You know, and for me, I remember when I started to step out in terms of, can I do something different? It was really from a sense of inclusion to some extent. I worked with the teams where of peers, which included me and made me feel welcome, and that kind of brought a sense of belonging. And that sense of belonging brings all of this, what I would call confidence about being able to do things and occasionally get it wrong and not be judged off that. But what that means is that you can do lots of things which you would not otherwise do. So I think it really is important to have a really inclusive culture, and one where we're unlearning what we've learned.
Yeah, that you mentioned a really good point there about being prepared to fail, and sometimes we can see, certainly in entrepreneurs, a real hesitation to try something in the chance that it might not work out. Failure is something that is part and parcel of the entrepreneurial journey, and I guess failure is part and parcel of the innovation journey, the research and development that you need to go through. How do you instill that approach in your teams that you work with, that it is okay to perhaps get things wrong?
So I think that the thing is always to rehearse it. So always go in knowing that it's going to fail. So the question is, if this fails, what am I going to do next? So you can't ever have something which is a dead end. And this is both in innovation, but in normal work. When I was running projects, there's always something going wrong in a project. So the question is, what about the plan C? And if it's really, really, really important to everyone and the stakeholders don't want anything to go wrong, then you might have to have a plan C and a plan D, so that people will give you the space to be innovative and creative, knowing that all the other goals can still be met.
Yeah, wise words indeed, Myrtle. Let's just touch on the COVID crisis right now, because it's difficult to escape it. It's difficult to not see the impact that it will have on businesses and individuals, let alone the human cost of COVID. But I'm keen to get your thoughts on how you will see the energy sector transform, and hopefully positively, as a result of the different approaches that were maybe taking place.
Yeah, so I think, I've been seeing exactly the same as everyone else in terms of the projected job losses, etc. And, when I think about it, I also would have concern and genuine fear, of course, as everyone would be if you're losing your livelihood. But what I think I can also see is that there are a lot of skills in the sector, and there's still a lot to do generally in the energy sector. So what I would like us to see is, as we come out of this, apart from doubling down on things like how can we be more cost effective and efficient, also how do we still apply ourselves to the things which we know we have the moral and legal obligations to do, which is around energy transition. How do we move and pivot our skills into that sector? Indeed, how do we accelerate that? And not just on the skills of the technical people, but things like how do we get HR platforms, which mean that an electrician, an electrical engineer working in oil and gas can also go and get a job in another sector. So for me, it's about, again, using the technology, but also doubling down and being confident about the future going forward.
We've got some great comments coming in on Facebook already. Just popping one up on the screen right now from Holly Kelly. Holly, thank you so much for sending your comment in. Would love to hear more about Roadmap 35 and new technological innovations helping to pave the way to reaching those targets. Myrtle, Roadmap 35.
Yes, so Roadmap 35 from Oil and Gas UK. It's a kind of seminal document for the way forward. For me, the key way for that is by 2035, we will be in a place where we will have had to reduce a lot of emissions. So for me, some of the key technologies that we are looking at are things which will allow us to have clean and power our facilities cleanly, whether that be power from shore or clean fuel turbines. We're looking at that. We're also looking at a lot of automation, because as time goes on with all of these things, we are removing a lot of the footprint offshore. So I'm seeing a lot more robotics, autonomous aerial vehicles coming in. And also on the subsurface side, what some of the things I see is using AI, artificial intelligence, to do the interpretation for you. So things which would have taken 12 months can now be done in a much shorter period. So if you've got something like a carbon sequestration reservoir, you can be assessing what's needed there. So a lot of exciting data, but really for me, data which allows us to have our license to operate going past 2035.
Excellent, Myrtle, and great question, Holly. Thanks so much for asking it. So, and clearly, in terms of what you've just covered there, it's a great time to be entrepreneurial. It's a great time to be innovative within the energy sector, and the OGTC are clearly there to support the Northeast and further afield in terms of the work that they need to see carried out in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years and beyond. I'd be quite keen to, we always like to ask people, what's their views over the horizon, and we've talked about that time period, but cast your thoughts in 5, 10 years' time, Myrtle, what type of opportunities do you think will exist at that point?
So I think that in terms of the opportunities, I think there will be a more integration in terms of the sectors, so there'll be a different language we'll need to learn. So I think that quickly all of us will be talking about terawatt hours rather than millions of barrels of oil equivalent, probably. But also what I see is new energy carriers coming in, like hydrogen, and not just in industry, into our own homes. So I'm talking about that you may have a hydrogen boiler as opposed to a natural gas boiler. I also see that and I think COVID is going to accelerate this. The behaviours that we have are going to change. And I think that the pivot towards really using technology is really, really going to take off, because I think we'll have developed more confidence in the technology and that it can deliver.
Fantastic. Excellent. Myrtle, 12.5 minutes is really not a long period of time, and I'm afraid to say we are out of time. I'm disappointed we never got an appearance from the cats. We'll need to make sure that they are next time, but I would like to say a massive thanks to you for being able to join us today in 12.5 minutes. Clearly the opportunities are there. Clearly innovation is something that all companies, from a cultural point of view and from a developmental point of view, will need to embrace if they're going to be players in the next 5 to 10 years. The opportunities are rich, and everything is certainly there to play for. So Myrtle, thank you so much for your time today. We would like to wish you well, and we hope we will see you at the OGTC as soon as we're able to get out of lockdown and visit. So thank you once again, Myrtle.
Thank you.
Great. Well, that was fantastic. And as you can see, we have tremendous speakers that come along and tremendous guests that come along each week to impart their words of wisdom to us. So thanks, Myrtle, for joining us. And really, a thanks goes out to the entire ecosystem within Scotland. At this time in particular, there are so many fantastic organisations that are really working so hard to help all the businesses that are perhaps struggling, but also needing to continue that momentum and continue to move forward. So my thanks, and thanks on behalf of Elevator to all of the organisations out there, from Entrepreneurial Scotland to the Can Do Collective to all of our colleagues within Business Gateway, and the many, many, many more organisations that are out there doing everything that they can to help you and your business at this time. So thank you to everyone, and thank you also to the team at Elevator who are behind 12.5 minutes. There are a cast and crew who are making sure that this thing runs as smoothly and as slickly as it does. So thank you to the team for helping and working hard to make this happen for everyone. Next week, we have our next guest, and I'm delighted to say that our next guest next week is Major General Martin Smith. And Major General Martin Smith will be joining us to talk about his life journey, and in particular, fighting against the Taliban in Afghanistan, and on the subject of leading through adversity. So that's going to be a really interesting show that we've got lined up for you next week. So be sure to check in. We're broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube, so make sure you like, follow and subscribe. and particularly on YouTube. We're trying to build up our YouTube subscribers. So if you're watching us on YouTube, please do click that subscribe button, and hopefully you'll be able to keep up to date with all things elevator. My thanks once again to all of you for joining us. I hope you have a tremendous weekend, and in the meantime, please do stay safe. Thank you very much indeed.